Seo Yeon Oh went to meet his manager to ask about film projects he could participate in, but the director definitely did not agree to let him play any more supporting roles. He said that if he acted in everything, he would become a cheap actor. Seo Yeon Oh had no choice but to bow his head and apologize to the director. Being scolded by the director, Yeon Oh could only go to the rooftop to get some fresh air when suddenly the phone rang. Yeon Oh answered the phone. "Hello," the other person asked. "It's actor Seo Yeon Oh, right? It's nice to talk to you. I'm Jo Gyute, secretary of Haecong Group." The secretary said his director wanted to meet Yeon Oh. The director saw his talent and wanted to support him. Yeon Oh didn't believe him, so he asked again many times. The secretary was still sure this wasn't a scam. The secretary said Yeon Oh could think and contact his again after thinking. After that, Seo Yeon Oh returned home. The house was messy with all kinds of garbage. Yeon Oh cleaned everything up and then cooked rice for the whole family to eat. While eating, he mentioned the Haecong Group's business. When his father heard the news, he was very happy and said, "You won the lottery. That group is very big. Take the opportunity." Yeon Oh angrily said, "You can't be serious. You might as well tell me to sleep around for cash." They then argued about this issue for the rest of the meal. Yeon Oh couldn't stand it anymore, stood up and went out. He bought a box of cigarettes and started smoking. When he returned, debt collectors came and broke many things. The debt collector wanted to continue fighting, but Yeon Oh begged them to go outside and talk. The debt collector asked, "Do you know how much money your father owes me?" Yeon Oh said he would try to pay off that debt. But the debt collector still gave him a warning, telling him to pay it off quickly. The next morning, Seo Yeon Oh went to Haecong Group. As soon as he arrived at the door, the secretary took him inside to meet the director. Inside, a young man was sitting looking at documents. The secretary introduced, "This is Director Jae Hyuk. As I told you before, accepting the offer or not is up to you." Seo Yeon Oh walked in front of Jae Hyuk, but he didn't seem to pay attention to him. A moment later, Jae Hyuk threw the documents on the table and asked Yeon Oh, "You've heard everything, right? Okay, so you can start by getting undressed." Jae Hyuk told Yeon Oh to take off his clothes, but he hesitated to do it. Jae Hyuk told the secretary if Yeon Oh can't undress himself, then help him undress. Secretary Cho immediately walked closer to Yeon Oh. Yeon Oh then pushed the secretary's hand away and said, "Okay, let me take it off myself." After looking over Yeon Oh's body, Jae Hyuk asked, "Seo Yeon Oh, do you have experience with men?" Yeon Oh immediately replied, "Already done." Jae Hyuk told him, "Very good, but if you were dating anyone, end it quickly because I want you to be my lover from now on. I won't do things that make me uncomfortable." Seo Yeon Oh suddenly asked, "I will be your lover?" Jae Hyuk said, "I want you to pretend to be my lover. The two of us will live like lovers." That night, Seo Yeon Oh lay in bed and couldn't sleep. He didn't know what it would be like to pretend to be a lover, and Jae Hyuk didn't tell him what he should do. This caused Yeon Oh to lose sleep all night. The next morning, while Yeon Oh was filming, Jae Hyuk suddenly called and asked him to come to his place. Seo Yeon Oh wanted to refuse because he was busy, but Jae Hyuk did not agree. Seo Yeon Oh just closed her eyes and said she would come right away. After asking the director for a break, Yeon Oh was constantly scolded by the director. "Do you think you're a superstar? I'm busy too." After scolding him, he let him go. Yeon Oh bowed his head and apologized for that. Going outside, Yeon Oh saw the car Jae Hyuk was waiting for. He got into the car. As soon as he got into the car, the secretary said, "Director, I'll have someone prepare clothes for you, Yeon Oh." Jae Hyuk then raised his eyes and said, "No need, it's better this way." In the car, Seo Yeon Oh complained about Jae Hyuk suddenly calling him, making him feel awkward. But Jae Hyuk said that this was an unexpected event, so there was no way to announce it in advance. Then the two remained silent and said nothing more. About 20 minutes, the two arrived at a tall building. Inside, a man came to say, "Hello, I heard that you just returned to Korea." The man led them to the table. Jae Hyuk put his hand on Seo Yeon Oh's waist. Then he leaned close to his neck and whispered, "Why are you so stiff? Do you need me to teach you more?" After that, the two sat at the table with a lot of gossip. Yeon Oh asked quietly, "Aren't you afraid that others will talk about Haecong Group's son going out to eat with a man?" Jae Hyuk grabbed Yeon Oh's hand and replied, "I'm intentionally letting them spread rumors like that." Then he put Yeon Oh's hand on his cheek and said, "Didn't I ask you to play my lover? Aren't you playing the role of my lover?" Jae Hyuk asked Yeon Oh, "I explained like that, but you still don't understand?" Before Yeon Oh could answer, Jae Hyuk kissed his hand and then bit it lightly. Yeon Oh pulled his hand back in fear and blushed shyly and asked, "What are you doing?" Jae Hyuk froze when Yeon Oh dared to withdraw his hand. He didn't say anything but just looked at Yeon Oh warningly. Then he said, "Looking at your expression right now, they probably won't believe we're dating." After a while, the two decided to leave. The atmosphere in the car was completely quiet. Jae Hyuk said, I just hugged your waist a little, but you were so stiff that you couldn't eat, so what else could you do? Seo Yeon Oh's face turned red. He lowered his head and said, next time I will try to do better. After that, Yeon Oh got out of the car to return home. At this time, he turned on his phone and saw many missed calls from the director. Yeon Oh still picked up the phone. As soon as the director heard him say hello, he scolded Yeon Oh, what are you doing without answering my phone call? Then he said he wanted you to come to the company right now, and he hung up. As soon as Yeon Oh arrived at the company, he was informed that he had been invited by a famous director to be an actor for his movie. Regardless of what the director said, Yeon Oh quietly looked at the script and laughed at himself. It turns out that for such an easy role, for a whole year I only tried my best to play supporting roles. At this time it was already dark. Jae Hyuk went to his grandfather's house to have dinner. Grandpa told him, once you return to Korea, you already know what you should do, right? Until you get a director position, don't let any strange rumors spread. Jae Hyuk dropped his spoon and pretended to ask, what strange rumor? After hearing this, Grandpa shouted angrily, you already know, but you still pretend to ask. His aunt reminded him not to joke like that. Jae Hyuk took a sip of wine and said, do we look like a happy family joking around during meals? If you already know about this, then I don't need to hide it anymore, the rumor is true. Grandpa was angry but still patiently said, forget it, if you're just playing around, you should know how to handle it. Jae Hyuk stood up and said, let me consider, thanks to you, my appetite is better. Everyone slowly enjoys the meal. After finishing eating, grandfather called his assistant, telling him to investigate Jae Hyuk's lover. Perhaps Jae Hyuk was planning something. At this time, Seo Yeon Oh was standing in front of a hotel because Jae Hyuk called him here. Suddenly Jae Hyuk appeared behind him, startling him and hugged his waist. Then the two looked at each other and laughed. Yeon Oh said that he heard that he was chosen to play the main role in the movie and he wanted to thank Jae Hyuk. But Jae Hyuk said there was no need to say thank you. He also reminded him to act properly and not tarnish his reputation. Yeon Oh agreed, I don't have that thought, nor do I think I will be supported by you forever. Jae Hyuk was satisfied with Yeon Oh's expression. He reached out to touch Yeon Oh's neck and said, that's good, but your body is cold. After that, Jae Hyuk suddenly kissed Yeon Oh. Yeon Oh wanted to push him away, but he stopped because he didn't want to ruin Jae Hyuk's plan. The scene of the two kissing was captured by Jae Hyuk's grandfather's people, and Jae Hyuk pretended not to know about it. He told Yeon Oh to go inside, but his body stiffened. Jae Hyuk reluctantly said, it's starting again, don't freeze there, act naturally, someone is watching us. The two entered the hotel room. Jae Hyuk reprimanded Yeon Oh, I didn't use you to teach you little by little, I had to do it well. Yeon Oh bowed his head low and replied, I don't expect you to teach me every little bit, but at least you have to inform me of what's going on. Suddenly kissing me in the middle of a shopping mall like that will make you angry. Jae Hyuk interrupted Yeon Oh's words. He came closer to him and said, if anyone hears, they will know that I am acting with you. I have to tell you in advance what to do. Then Jae Hyuk asked him to take action. I told him before. Even though Yeon Oh was shy, he still stood on tiptoe and tried to kiss Jae Hyuk, but it was just a kiss on the lips. Jae Hyuk was a little stunned by Yeon Oh's decisive action. He stared at Yeon Oh for a long time. Jae Hyuk suddenly said, if you kiss, you must kiss properly. Then he pulled Yeon Oh back and kissed him. Jae Hyuk slid his tongue inside Yeon Oh's mouth, wanting him to French kiss him. Yeon Oh was having trouble breathing and wanted to push Jae Hyuk away, but Jae Hyuk didn't agree. He pushed Yeon Oh onto the bed and continued to kiss him vigorously. Yeon Oh tried to escape Jae Hyuk's kiss, but Jae Hyuk put his hand on his shirt. He kissed Yeon Oh's belly, which made Yeon Oh very embarrassed. But Jae Hyuk kissed and observed Yeon Oh's expression. He felt Yeon Oh was very interesting. Then he said, my grandfather doesn't easily believe in childish things like holding hands or kissing in public. You have to show him me and you hanging out before he can stop being suspicious. After that, Jae Hyuk started taking off his vest and shirt and throwing them on the ground. Then we coordinate from the body first. Jae Hyuk asked Yeon Oh, you have to know what your body needs. This will be good for you too. Seo Yeon Oh was extremely scared. He said, take it slow, no need to rush like that. Jae Hyuk shook his head reluctantly and he grabbed his shirt and pulled it up. Seo Yeon Oh refused to let Jae Hyuk take the initiative anymore. He turned over and sat on top of Jae Hyuk. Jae Hyuk was also shocked. He told Seo Yeon Oh, then do as you wish, I won't move my hand anymore, okay? Seo Yeon Oh's face turned red. He couldn't say anything. He just stared at Jae Hyuk. After that, Seo Yeon Oh also started taking off his sweater to reveal his small abs in front of Jae Hyuk. He took off his shirt and looked at Jae Hyuk's expression. Just because he wanted to show his father that he had to do the step, he didn't look very interested. At this time, Jae Hyuk spoke up, "How long do I have to wait for you? Hurry up and do it." After that, Seo Yeon Oh immediately awkwardly kissed Jae Hyuk. He was extremely nervous. The kiss also became more awkward. Jae Hyuk didn't seem to like this very much. He spoke up, "If you keep doing that, then I'm not sure my father can trust that we're dating, even I don't believe it." Seo Yeon Oh had no choice but to agree. "If you are not satisfied, then tell me and I will stop immediately." Yeon Oh reassured himself to stay calm. Then he started from the most basic steps, trying to make Jae Hyuk feel interested and satisfied. After a while, Jae Hyuk asked him to lie down on his stomach and raise his hips. The two of them started doing unspeakable things, but Yeon Oh couldn't stand it because of the pain. Finally, Jae Hyuk had to stop halfway. He put on his shirt and said, "Next time prepare carefully and come, because I don't have the hobby of forcing others." Seo Yeon Oh sadly bowed her head and said sorry to him. Jae Hyuk told him, "Stay here until tomorrow morning, then throw him a black card." Jae Hyuk turned around and left and reminded, "See you next week." Seo Yeon Oh slept until morning before waking up. He felt that sleeping on a bed with a soft mattress like this was very comfortable even though he was in pain last night. Then he thought, why did Jae Hyuk choose someone like him to play the role of his lover? He didn't seem to like instructing others, nor was he interested in his body. Why didn't he find an actor to act someone good to play his lover? As soon as he was about to get out of bed, he felt a pain in his waist that made him unable to walk. He thought to himself, just a little while and yet it hurts so much. When Yeon Oh came home, it was late afternoon. As soon as he entered the house, he heard his father's voice asking, "Is your son home? Come in quickly, we'll celebrate you on TV." Yeon Oh went inside and gave the bag of candies to his younger brother. "Just a few candies, put them away to eat later." The whole family of four happily ate dinner together. Yeon Oh also felt happy. He thought, "Don't worry anymore, as long as I pay off all my dad's debt, he will be able to quit gambling." That evening, Yeon Oh took the money to meet the creditor. He wanted to pay off the debt as soon as possible. The creditor counted the money and asked him, "Yeon Oh, do you have a sponsor? There's really no one more filial than this actor. Give your father his card to go gambling." He walked over and grabbed Seo Yeon Oh's shoulder and patted him a few times. Earning money with his body, Yeon Oh really works hard. After saying that, he slid his hand down to Yeon Oh's butt. He said, "Then I should take this part off too to enjoy it." Yeon Oh tried to escape from the hands of the creditor. He said, "I have paid all the principal and interest. Don't bother my family anymore." After that, he quickly left, but just a few steps away, the creditor reminded him, "In the future, tell your father not to come to me to borrow money again." That night, Seo Yeon Oh took out his schedule and looked at it again. He looked at the date he had with Jae Hyuk on the weekend and felt a little confused. Since when did my schedule become like this? Remembering Jae Hyuk, Seo Yeon Oh immediately remembered his advice a few days ago. "Next time you come to see me, remember to prepare well." Yeon Oh immediately went to the bathroom, wanting to try it himself to see if it was possible because he didn't want to disappoint him the next time he met Jae Hyuk. But just a few minutes later, his younger brother knocked on the bathroom door. He panicked and quickly went out to avoid being discovered by his younger brother. Covering himself with the blanket, Yeon Oh thought about whether he was crazy or not. Why did he do that just now? It was so embarrassing. After the embarrassing incident of the previous night, the next morning, Yeon Oh woke up early to prepare for the audition for the new movie introduced by Jae Hyuk. Yeon Oh just went to the alley and saw a middle-aged man standing there. He saw you coming and politely said, "Hello Yeon Oh, from now on I will be your manager. The director must have been I told you already, right? I hope you can help me." Yeon Oh was a bit embarrassed, but he still politely reached out to shake hands with him and then replied, "Yes, I heard what the director said, so do I. I hope you can help me, just talk freely." Then the two of them got in the car at the same time to go to the audition. In the car, the manager played light music so as not to disturb Yeon Oh reading the script. This made Yeon Oh feel comfortable and happy. After a while, Yeon Oh also arrived at the audition place. He arrived quite early. There weren't many people here yet. He went up to greet the people here. "Hello everyone." A woman in there also greeted him and said, "Don't worry, sit down quickly, you're here early." Yeon Oh went to find his position and then sat down. He took out the script and looked at it again, wanting to finish today well. Time passed about half an hour. More and more actors arrived. They greeted each other as if they had known each other before. Only Yeon Oh was the new actor who always sat in one place, unable to communicate with anyone. The directors also started setting up the cameras to prepare for today's casting. Yeon Oh was just starting to feel nervous. He felt nervous. But then he reassured himself that it would be okay as long as he did the same as yesterday, everything would be fine. At this time, outside the door, a young blonde man walked in. He seemed to be younger than Yeon Oh. He walked into his seat, just one chair away from Yeon Oh. Yeon Oh politely said hello first. Hello, I'm Seo Yeon Oh, but in response to Yeon Oh's happiness, his eyes were absent. Sympathy of the young blonde man, then he turned away and didn't want to say hello to Seo Yeon Oh. He talked to the actress sitting next to him. It seemed like the two of them knew each other. Yeon Oh was ignored, so he just sat down. He suddenly felt, did it seem like I did something wrong to make him angry? After that blonde actor took his seat, the director also started today's casting session. He announced a few things before starting. There are a lot of rumors that working with us is very stressful, that's true, so this time I wanted to try something new. So, in the next 6 months everyone will try to work hard and hope we will finish the movie successfully. A few hours passed, everyone's sighs of relief finally rang out, the director smiled happily, everyone has worked hard, now let's end today. Yeon Oh, after a long time of tension, he finally succeeded. He went to the bathroom and wanted to wash his face to wake himself up. When he was about to go outside, he heard a few staff members talking to each other. Didn't you see Go Suk-young's crazy attitude when he came in to read the script? That role should have been his, but unexpectedly the other person took it away. That Yeon Oh guy must have someone backing him, so he has the main role. Seo Yeon Oh didn't come out. He stood behind the wall and waited for those people to leave before he slowly went out. As he walked, Seo Yeon Oh remembered the blonde boy's appearance just now. If he was Go Suk-young, then it would be right for him to be angry with me. If what the staff said was true, my role should have been Go Suk-young, but Jae Hyuk passed it to me. Maybe the director was very upset earlier, and also Go Suk-young, he is an actor who always has high ratings. On the car ride home, Seo Yeon Oh was always distracted looking out the car window. He felt uncomfortable because of Go Suk-young's events today. The manager asked him, I'll take you home too, Yeon Oh, but Seo Yeon Oh replied, no, I still have to go to this place. Manager asked, where is it, can I take you there too? Yeon Oh said no need, just let him off at the bus stop in front, then go home first. Yeon Oh went to Jae Hyuk's company. His secretary texted him at noon, when you finish casting, come to the company, the director wants to meet you. Yeon Oh nervously walked into the director's room, but the place was dark, the lights weren't on. He called Jae Hyuk's name a few times, but no one answered. He had no choice but to open the door to leave, but as soon as the door opened, Jae Hyuk was waiting outside. Yeon Oh wanted to say something, but Jae Hyuk suddenly pulled him into a hug and said, I really wanted to hug you like this as soon as I met you. Seo Yeon Oh's face turned red in confusion. He whispered, there's no one here, why did you do that? Jae Hyuk let go of him and looked straight into his eyes. Are you important to this? Then he went to kiss him. The two kissed passionately. Yeon Oh also let Jae Hyuk kiss him. He watched as Jae Hyuk closed his eyes and kissed him unconsciously. Suddenly Jae Hyuk opened his eyes and said, when kissing, you should close your eyes. Are you looking at me? Without waiting for Yeon Oh to answer, Jae Hyuk sat him on the table, then continued the steamy kisses. Jae Hyuk reached down and slid his hand along Yeon Oh's back. This made Yeon Oh unconsciously bend over to avoid it, but Jae Hyuk held his waist back. Then he placed Yeon Oh on his desk. The two looked at each other. Jae Hyuk did not take any further action. Yeon Oh reluctantly said, if you want, it would be better to call me to the hotel. It's a bit inconvenient in this place. Jae Hyuk stared at Yeon Oh and replied, it seems like you made a mistake. I called you here, of course there are more eyes and ears here than you think. And in this room too, there might be a hidden camera somewhere, so do your job well, act like you're filming. After hearing everything, Yeon Oh understood clearly. He started to coordinate with Jae Hyuk. Yeon Oh leaned forward to hug Jae Hyuk, then gave him a kiss. The two of their lips and tongues intertwined very hotly. Jae Hyuk didn't stop anymore. He started kissing along Yeon Oh's neck. Yeon Oh also enjoyed these new feelings. Jae Hyuk unbuttoned Yeon Oh's shirt. This made Yeon Oh a bit cautious. He asked, Director, you won't finish it, right? Jae Hyuk replied, I think you already have the answer yourself. Yes. He brought his nose close to Yeon Oh's neck and started to take a breath. Your body exuded the smell of this shower gel. It was so fragrant. The two of them started doing things that were difficult to talk about. After a while, there was suddenly a knock on the door. The person asked, Director, are you inside? Yeon Oh was startled and wanted to stand up, but Jae Hyuk didn't let him go. He looked at him with warning eyes. Yeon Oh has been losing focus all this time. I don't like that. In the end, Jae Hyuk still just stopped at the handjob step. Then he said, okay, that's it for today, go home. Yeon Oh breathed a sigh of relief. Jae Hyuk opened the door and asked the person outside, why are you looking for me? The other person said, the president said he called you but you didn't pick up so he asked me to come and see. Jae Hyuk stroked his hair and calmly said, trivial reason, okay now go home. Yeon Oh walked into the elevator. He was still shocked by what happened just now. He was scared and thought, could it be that what Jae Hyuk said the other day inside the hotel was all true? Does he want to do it to me in front of many people? Does he want to do it to me until the end? He is such a crazy person. After Yeon Oh returned home, it was already night, so he slept until morning. Just early in the morning, there was a delivery person standing outside the door calling him. Yeon Oh went out to receive the goods even though he didn't know what it was. He brought them into the house only to realize that these were all branded items that Jae Hyuk sent him. Yeon Oh looked through the clothes and then wondered how did Jae Hyuk know his size to buy these clothes. Finally, Yeon Oh didn't think anymore. He quickly went to find a place to keep these items. That afternoon, you had a press conference with the film crew where many reporters turned their microphones towards you. They asked, I'm Kim Joo-man of Daehan newspaper. I have a question to ask you, Yeon Oh. This is the first time Yeon Oh plays the male lead. I don't know if Yeon Oh feels nervous or burdened. Yeon Oh immediately understood what they meant. He thought, why don't I ask directly how I feel when I'm lucky enough to get a sponsor and get taken care of? However, Yeon Oh still has to answer this question. He replied, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't worried, but I'll try to finish it well, thank you. After the press conference ended, Yeon Oh received a text message from Jae Hyuk. He wanted to meet him. Yeon Oh replied yes. Later, he got into Jae Hyuk's car. As soon as he got in the car, Yeon Oh asked, what's the matter with the director calling me? But Jae Hyuk asked him back, I told the secretary to send you some good clothes. Why are you still dressing like this? Don't you like it? Yeon Oh was surprised by this question. He replied, I was about to say that you don't need to send those things to me. I'm not confident enough to use such expensive items and there's no place suitable for them. Suitable for storing them. Obviously Yeon Oh was refusing, but Jae Hyuk understood. On the other hand, he turned to ask Yeon Oh, are you asking me to change a new house for you? Yeon Oh said frantically, that's not what I meant. Then he took out the black card again. I'll give it back to you. I don't dare use it. But Jae Hyuk didn't take it. He told Yeon Oh to keep it. Jae Hyuk continued driving. After a while he stopped the car in front of a shopping center. Jae Hyuk turned to tell Yeon Oh to get out of the car. Yeon Oh was confused. He didn't know why the director brought him to this place. Maybe he wanted to buy things for you too? Inside, Jae Hyuk told Yeon Oh to take whatever he wanted. Yeon Oh hesitated and didn't want to buy it. Jae Hyuk chose a sweater for him and told him to try it on. Yeon Oh walked out and asked Jae Hyuk if he looked okay in what he was wearing. Unexpectedly, Jae Hyuk came closer to him, then he raised his hand to stroke his hair. His hair was tangled. Yeon Oh was shy and didn't know what to say, so he had to let Jae Hyuk arbitrarily stroke his hair. After finishing shopping, Jae Hyuk drove Yeon Oh home. When saying goodbye, Jae Hyuk reminded Yeon Oh, I've made it this far so remember to wear these next time. Yeon Oh nodded. Agree, then say thank you to the director. Jae Hyuk suddenly pulled Yeon Oh towards him and kissed him. See you next time. Yeon Oh stood watching Jae Hyuk's car drive farther and farther away. His heart was extremely confused. Why did he do that to me? It really confused me. Yeon Oh lowered his eyes and turned to go into the house, but he had just taken a few steps when someone grabbed his hand and said, I've thought about it again. I can't just say goodbye and go home like that. Yeon Oh is still surprised by this action of Jae Hyuk. Why did he come back here? Yeon Oh called, Director, is something wrong? Jae Hyuk still held Yeon Oh's hand and pulled him towards the parked car. He said, I just don't want to just say goodbye and go home. Jae Hyuk stopped and turned to say to Yeon Oh, let's date a little longer. Then he told him to get in the car. Jae Hyuk took Yeon Oh to a nearby hotel. As soon as they entered the room, they kissed each other fiercely. Jae Hyuk couldn't hold back anymore and kissed Yeon Oh deeply. Their lips and tongues blended together. Jae Hyuk put his tongue into Yeon Oh's mouth, kissing deeply. The two's saliva mixed together, kissing until Yeon Oh felt suffocated. The sound of the two kissing echoed throughout the room, evoking an indescribable feeling of blushing in the listener. Yeon Oh opened his eyes slightly to look at Jae Hyuk, who was constantly sucking his lips. He thought, because he had kissed a few times so he was used to it, or was it because Jae Hyuk was acting strangely? Finally, Jae Hyuk left Yeon Oh's mouth, dragging a very eye-catching silver thread. Then he said, this time I won't stop halfway. Immediately after that, both of them started taking off their shirts. The shirts were scattered on the ground, showing that the next action of the two of them will make our eyes burn. Jae Hyuk kissed Yeon Oh's belly, making him feel strange. His whole face turned red. Seeing that Jae Hyuk wanted to put his hand there, Seo Yeon Oh panicked and asked, do you really want to do that to the end? Jae Hyuk looked at him and then reassured him, "Don't worry, just leave it to me, it will hurt a little but it will be quick." Then the two fell into passionate kisses accompanied by enchanting sounds. In the end, Jae Hyuk really did it all with Seo Yeon Oh, but I can't tell you the details here. Thank you everyone for watching today's chapter. Please like and subscribe to my channel so I have the motivation to continue making the next videos.